Sonic Project 06 has been around for quite some time and has had its fair share of speedruns on the leaderboard. However, out of all the categories, the most popular by far is Sonic's Any Percent Speedrun. In this speedrun, players race through all of Sonic's 11 stages using all of the upgrades that can be found in-game. In this video, I'll show you a quick explanation of each stage in the speedrun and several tricks that can amplify your very own speedrun or regular playthrough of the game. Anyways, let's kick it off with a bang. Wave Ocean is our first stage in the speedrun. Right off the bat, we are sprinting to the first loop to do a homing attack to gain more speed before entering the water again. We then swap over to the blue gem to gain enough speed and height to avoid this barrier. We do another activation and do a spin kick to conserve momentum into the barrier to be able to jump and homing attack the item capsule that is on the other island. After that, we progress to the next checkpoint. With the use of the blue gem again, we can then gain enough momentum to badnik bounce over this rock and boost our way over to the springs to get to the beginning of the whale automation section. After doing some sick tricks, we swap to Tails, where all he does is fly to this rock and hit a switch for us. Afterwards, we are in the first Mach Speed section of the game. Right away, do a ring dash to enter Mach 3. This is Sonic's fastest speed. We can then propel ourselves using this ramp to gain some air and to avoid obstacles a bit in this section. We can use a few more ring dashes to help us stay right on track. After we progress and get to our second automation sequence, we can go ahead and badnik bounce this enemy to avoid the ramp. We can do a light speed dash to gain more speed. We can then skip a loop to cut some time, and that is essentially all there is to Wave Ocean. The second stage is Dusty Desert. This is Sonic's fastest stage in the game. Right away, we could do a light speed dash and use a slide ability to conserve our speed and momentum to damage the firebox to eliminate the enemies. After hitting the ramp, we are able to homing attack an item box and enter a rainbow ring to reach another section of the stage. We can skip this ramp to cut some time and do a ring dash for speed and slide all the way through the sand. If you save enough action gauge, you can use the speed shoes and shield to fly all the way to this loop that has a rainbow ring and a spring at the end of it. Hitting this spring allows you to skip more of the stage. After landing, you could do another ring dash and a slide, and this will allow for enough momentum to hit the last ring dash line, and you can hit the goal ring soon after. Our third stage in the speedrun is White Acropolis. Using the best movement option in the game, we could traverse down these slopes with ease. We can hit a couple of tricks, but realistically there are only a couple of shortcuts that we can utilize to save a little bit of time. Honestly, there is not much optimization until we are in section 2 of the stage. In section 2, we need to race with the blue gem all the way to the lasers, where we can use a sky blue gem to jump over and then eventually swap to Tails. This portion is pretty trivial with Tails. You need to fly and hug the right side of the mountains so that way we can efficiently hit the switch so Sonic can be let through. After this is done, we switch over to Sonic and make it all the way to Tails. With the blue gem, we can do a badnik bounce at these enemies by the lasers and go over them and also the pit. You could use the blue gem to do a super precise jump on this rock to perform a slope jump. You will know if you do the slope jump correctly if you're in the air much higher than a normal jump. After we get onto this section, we hit the goal ring and the stage is over. The next stage is Crisis City, and it also has the best movement right off the bat. Honestly, section 1 is not that bad as long as you keep going downhill, skip the optional rails, and don't hit any enemies. Once we hit the loop, we are instantly brought into section 2. One of my favorite tricks in this section is simply jumping off the rail and aiming ourselves in a way to hit one of the rails down below. After hitting the rail, we can grind our way to the first checkpoint and use the blue gem to get enough speed to make it over to this tower. We could then use the blue and purple gems to skip another section of the stage. After taking the springs for some automation, we need to attack all 3 enemies in rapid succession, boost with the blue gem, and then quickly swap to the purple gem to skip this loop and hit the loading zone to enter section 3. In this section, we must traverse through the inside of a tornado, but anyways, you use the blue gem with a few badnik bounces to jump onto some debris. When you're in the air, I recommend switching over to the purple gem just in case you don't think you'll land in the correct spot, but after some traversing through the obstacles, you can swap over to Supersonic to make the Mach Speed stage section A. For Mach Speed in this stage, if you hug the right side where the rumble strips are at, you will never take any damage or hit any objects. However, when the camera swaps during the section, I would recommend hanging out in the middle and doing some ring dashes just to keep up your speed, and after doing this once more, we make it to the end of the stage after jumping over that truck. The next stage, Flame Core, is all about being efficient in combat. With the blue gem and spin kick, we can make it across to these birds. After doing this wall running section, if you use a blue gem and hug the wall on the left, you can attack those fellas and progress to the first enemy room. Personally, I like to use a spin dash and bounce spray to slit to eliminate all the enemies in the room. Right after doing that, you can hit your first checkpoint, and we use the blue and purple gems to reach this spring and use the blue gem to cross the lava river. After you cross this, you are entering another enemy room where the same method of using the bounce bracelet and spin dash is very efficient. Once you make it through this room, you make it to the next checkpoint and use a blue gem and purple gem to make it across to this platform that has the big guy. You could use another blue gem, and that is it for section 1. Section 2 starts off in this large open area, and if we traverse to this platform that's on the left, we can grab the speed shoes. With these, we can increase our mid-air momentum to clear this gap. We can grab the invincible item box. Once we get to the door at the end of this drop, we can use our invincibility to allow us to stand in the lava to use a blue gem dash and rush to the switch to open the door. After some automation, we can hit this rail and switch over to Knuckles. Personally, I prefer to hit the glowing orbs in this specific order. We do not need to do any combat in this section, as gliding will do damage to the enemies when we fly into them, and also we could do badnik bounces to increase our height. Once we swap back to Sonic, we can use the leftmost path to make our way over to the door that opened up. The blue gem can be used to over here to progress a little bit faster, but I had to watch out for the lava. Once we get through, we can badnik bounce this enemy, use the purple gem to climb to the top, and then fall down the hole, and flame core is done. This next stage, Radical Train, is one of Sonic's fastest stages in the story. Radical Train offers unique movement and scenarios that are not featured in any other stages. Immediately, we use the blue gem to traverse through the spring to make it over to the first lever. Once we make it through this loop, we have to jump on top of this scale in order to set up a jump to the conveyor belt that's right in front of us. With some movement, we can make it across and attack those yellow robots for upgrading the purple gem, and then we can hit the lever. With this, we will use the purple gem to go over this invisible barrier to land on the rail. We run over to this box that has a set of speed shoes in it, and we can make it onto the rails to collect some rings. Once we make it over to the final lever, we can switch over to Supersonic, save the train, and start Mach Speed. Mach Speed section can be tad tricky if you do this incorrectly. First off, we need to pick up enough speed so we can accurately jump over these tracks, so that way we do not stop our movement. If we do it correctly, we could do a bounce and jump, and then we can hit this ring dash to adjust our direction to progress further. After a few jumps and just practically coasting on through the rest of the stage, we can make it to the goal ring. Our next stage is the final princess stage of the game, Tropical Jungle. Starting off, we rotate Sonic and line him up with the center of the tree to hit the ramp and save a little bit of time. The path to the right will allow us to take a faster route. At the end of this route, we can use this rail to take a vine to reach the top of the path that will take us towards our first checkpoint. Now from here on out, there are multiple paths, but personally, I take the one with the nearest enemy to the checkpoint. Once you reach this checkpoint, you just do one more automation section before reaching the next. First things first, do a ring dash and then use a shield to stand on the water. Progress a little bit further, and there's going to be an enemy to the left that can homing attack and hop onto this rail. If you just do what I do in this video, it's pretty simple and really quick to get done with this section. And once you're done with the rail, you hit the goal ring, and that's it. Pretty cool. With only a few stages left, we are now entering the most iconic stage in the game, Kingdom Valley. Starting off, we need to fall down to the right and take the wind rail. Once we're at this checkpoint, we need to do a blue gem magnet bounce to hop onto these ropes, and then we're going to rush on over to the second checkpoint. We're going to go all the way up this vertical wall and take the top path, and at the very end of it, use a blue gem to fly into the air right by this robot. Once you land, do another blue gem, hit the little guy in the air, and then using one more blue gem to hit the loading zone rather than taking the eagle. Now section 2 is the only time that we see any other hedgehog in Sonic's story. Using silver, we need to eliminate the 3 enemies in front of us with a psychic knife attack, and then we need to use another one on the bombers on the stairs. Doing this fills up our action gauge and our maturity meter to activate ESP mode. Activating will grant silver more action gauge duration, and we will be allowed to fly all the way towards this area and then this box, where we can fill up our action gauge again and then fly over to the stairs where Sonic is at. Once we switch over to Sonic, we can hit the spring and go to section 3. Now in this section, we must upgrade our purple gem. Starting off in our first enemy room, we can defeat a couple of enemies to gain a couple of cores and use the height to exit through the window to escape the enemy room. We can take out this missile enemy and then hit the wind rail. When on the rail, head on over to the left to skip over to the rope room. Make it over to the top and make it to the checkpoint. If you have at least a level 2 rainbow gem, you should be good. Now we get to do the most iconic skip in the game, Castle Skip. To do the skip, we must leap onto the rope to a specific portion of the tower and break it with a homing attack. Once it crumbles, we can land on the platform that it creates and do another jump over to the next one, and upon landing, we can transform into supersonic and jump up and boost over to land on a small platform. We can then proceed to the next checkpoint and traverse through a little bit more of the section until we make it to the wind rail. We'll defeat a couple of enemies and have a little small cutscene with Silver, and then we'll enter to the Mach Speed section of the stage. For this final Mach Speed section, we need to keep our speed and land on the water in a certain location that will allow us to run on it. If you do it correctly, make sure that you don't hit any of the buildings on the way, and if you successfully do it and make it to the next automated section, you should be pretty good and you should be able to hit the goal ring in a nick of time. Aquatic Base is Sonic's final stage in the game, and boy is it long. Most of this stage relies on traveling in a linear fashion with multiple enemies blocking the way. Once you open the first door, I prefer to hop into the rainbow ring to get towards the door that's across the way. After getting through the second tunnel, we have a similar room where we do a ring dash to get to another ring, and then we enter an enemy room. We can make quick work of these enemies since these rooms have magnetic poles that deal damage when activated. Once you progress through the door and make it to the next checkpoint, we make it to the ball section. We use the blue gem and the purple gem to make it across this section by using the poles that the lasers are on. With a little bit of finesse, we can make it to Tails. With Tails, we need enough height to reach the platform above, and once we do, we can defeat an enemy and head into this open room. We can make it to the laser grid and take some damage to go under it, and with the temporary invincibility, we can make it safely through another laser grid and hit the switch. We can traverse through another area and hit the magnet switch to open the door. Once it opens, we could throw a ring bomb at another magnet switch and hit the switch that's on the floor to hit the trigger to swap to Sonic. Quickly, we can hit all 4 magnet poles to defeat the enemies and then fly through the orb section and make it to section 2. Now in the final section of Aquatic Base, we need to go through a couple similar areas like the first section. Once we make it through this tunnel, we must traverse through a conveyor-like platform. If we use the purple and blue gem, we can make it across to defeat these enemies, open the door, and we can rush on through to use the blue gem to avoid the closing glass barriers. If we are efficient enough, we can use the bounce bracelet to hit the magnet switches and make it to the door to switch over to Knuckles. There isn't much to do with Knuckles except glide all the way around to the switch. With Sonic, we use the blue gem to fly through what would have been the Knuckles section, and after making it to the end and traversing a little bit more, we could find ourselves in an enemy room. If you upgraded your green gem, it's time to shine. If you position yourself in the center, you can damage all the enemies and make it through this part of the enemy room in the most efficient way. Once you get through, you have one final tunnel with the falling glass, and then we are in one more open section where we can use the blue gem, hit the ramp, the spring, and hit the goal ring. What a way to end Sonic's story. Or is it? The real final stage in Sonic's story speedrun is Tails Wave Ocean. Right after the first automation section is complete, we can skip these enemies and hit the loop. Once we gain control after the automation, we can spam fly to reach the top of this canopy and hit a slope jump to make it onto the grind rail. We can fly past these enemies and hit up another rail. With these enemies after the checkpoint, do a ring bomb to get more shards to fill up the action gauge, which will allow Tails to fly for longer. Once we make it to these spikes, you can take some damage to fill up your action gauge and then fly over to the speed boost pad. After a bit more automation, we keep on progressing until we're standing on this specific platform and fly over to the top of this canopy. Once you reach it, do a slope jump and spam fly all the way towards these 2 rocks, and if you did it correctly, you can hit one more slope jump, fly up to the goal ring, and finish your speedrun. And that is it. You have successfully speedrun Sonic's story in Project 06. This video went a little bit fast, so let me know if you would like a more in-depth explanation of this game. Also, let me know if you would like a similar video for Shadow and Silver down the road. Be sure to subscribe for more Project 06 content, and be sure to like the video. Anyways, this is the last one, Lex, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.